Good morning, happy Friday. It's Tim Wild's Ascension update, and I am sat down by Merlin's tree. This tree has been officially named Merlin's tree by my good friend Alice Heath, and it figures. Whenever I'm down here, I feel very connected to not just the elemental realm, and of course the kind of the incredibly knowledgeable and powerful tree network that exists upon our planet, already vibrating at a fifth dimensional frequency. But if you take yourself out into any outdoors scenario, be it the woods, be it the beach, any of these kind of places of nature, you will automatically connect to a higher the highest version of yourself that is available. And there's been a lot of reports recently, especially over the eclipse period, people feeling very ungrounded, kind of almost unmanageable physical waves of energy kind of being integrated. And I spoke about this a little bit in my live event, Ascending from the Earth Matrix, about how we are almost in our physical bodies being expected to run literally as we've only learnt to walk. So the light comes in, we're keeping pace, you've heard me talk about this before, and a lot of the physical recalibration situations and stuff that we find ourselves going through is in actual fact a response from our bodies and our nervous systems as we get used to the volume of light that we are now integrating and is part of the matrix that we are choosing to inhabit. So I want to talk a little bit about what happens when we raise our vibrations, okay? Because one of the reoccurring themes within my own personal process, and also in the personal process of many people that I've spoken to over the years, that I've communicated with online or directly during workshops or just conversations, that it seems to be that, you know, maybe we've even taken for granted now that in the last 2 years we are now having more conversations, what we would call in inverted commas normal conversations, with people that we would have never have spoken about this subject matter with previously. So huge quantities of souls have joined our ranks on the ascension pathway. You know, if you're going to use if you're going to look at the volume of light workers on this planet almost like an army of light, building. Well, as some of you might remember, if you've been following me for a while, during the year of 2020, 2 billion people were triggered into a state of activation or pre-awakening. Some woke up immediately, some were just like, bang, we're awake, especially when the events of March 2020 began to occur. They could see exactly what was going on. Whether the higher perspective was available fully in its entirety at that point or not, that would have come later on as the veil begins to lift from the third eye, the fifth veil of amnesia, which allows clear vision, clarity, perspective of truth to be available. Some have taken longer to move through this process, and they've needed to be shown the kind of the gravity of the untruths that are available within the 3D matrix, and that has been their trigger point. It's been extremely valuable. The things that we've experienced have been absolutely essential to project us into the state of collective consciousness that we are in at the moment. But I've diverged slightly. What I want to talk about is, at the moment, what happens when your vibration rises, and why life does actually sometimes seem to get a little bit trickier once you step onto the ascension pathway. There is a process of spiritual initiations that we all go through. Now, some of these at the time may seem long-winded, exhausting, painful, and completely forgettable. And for the majority, otherwise, if they weren't challenging, if they weren't testing, if they weren't pushing us to the kind of limits of our endurance in whatever we're being tested within, they wouldn't be tests, would they? At the end of the day, we just kind of sail through it and go, oh, that was nice, you know, just carry on living as I was previously. So all of the things that occur to us, physical, mental, emotional and spiritual, are all done on everything we experience is pre-agreed. Okay, so there is very, very little that happens in our sphere of reality now that is down to chance. Of course, living on a planet of free will has thrown a joker card in on many occasions onto our pathways. That's what makes it such an interesting place to be, that we can have a set of directives that we're going to incarnate down here, and we're going to go through these soul gateways, and on the other side of each soul gateway our path opens up, it becomes bigger. But of course, when you're living on a planet of free will and others around you have got free will, you yourself have got free will, and most of the time up to a point you can't actually remember why you're here or what you're doing down here, then this joker card comes into effect on a regular basis. So our pathways have diverted off, they've been met with obstacles, sometimes we seem to kind of chase our tails and flounder and go around in circles and repeat the same lessons over and over again, to the point where we're just literally like, oh my god, why is this occurring to me on such a repetitive basis? But there is a point that we reach, and I should think if you are listening to this, and you will have all reached this point, where there is a definitive switch from previous vibration to the vibration that you are holding now. When that switch is made, that is when the certainty of the spiritual pathway begins. The spiritual pathway, which is in alignment with the wishes of your highest self, the version of you that is kind of gazing lovingly over your existence, going, oh look, look, Tim's on the right pathway now, I'm so proud, kind of thing. And of course your highest version of you, we've got this kind of thing in our heads, or I used to have this thing in my head, where I imagined me just kind of staggering around on this planet doing my kind of human things, and I was overlooked by this benign and knowing version of myself that was kind of allowing me to kind of toddle off on my baby reins and do my own thing. When in actual fact, a lot of us are now we are considerably closer to embodying the full version of that highest self than we would ever give ourselves credit for. Now, when this occurs, the tests and initiations that we go through become very defined. So, say for example, we need to learn the lesson of discernment, then we will be continuously put in positions where people are challenging that discernment. We might be surrounded by people initially that are saying all the right things, they're doing all of their actions seem aligned with what you are expecting and what you wish from your life. And in actual fact, the job is, or the task is, to look deeper into the energy behind it so that you can read it. And if you read the energy behind actions, if you read the energy behind almost like a soul intention, you can tell whether that is aligned for you, or whether it is going to be something that you need to reassess and maybe move away from, or work on, or go through whatever scenarios that you've got to go through in order to get to the other side. It's been a classic and repetitive lesson, particularly within light workers. You know, many of us used to think that if something was presented to us, that it was simply a gift from the universe and that it was meant to be. And in many cases it is a gift from the universe. It's a gift from the universe that's going to help you wake up and actually start using your own discernment. So again and again and again we are presented with that that particular initiation, to read behind the energy lines, to actually see the true intention of the words, the actions and the physicalities and all of the things that is going on, not just in people but in society itself. And when we've mastered that, we can then discern action to take on a personal level, which is in alignment with our soul directives. So that's the most common one. But one that I'm seeing cropping up at the moment, and it's the biggest initiation of all, and I've spoken about it previously, because all roads on this planet at this moment in time lead back to self-love. Okay, so self-love, once you've adopted the role of learning to love yourself, almost every other initiation that you go through, all of the other lessons that we learn, are tied into that one. So if, for the sake of example, you wake up one morning and you realize that your entire ascension pathway can be nailed by learning to love yourself, because all of the other lessons are tied in with it, then you have adopted a mantle that is going to begin to test every single facet that you are integrating, that you're involved with. So self-love is something that we've been taught to move away from. Okay, the 3D matrix that we are so enthusiastically unplugging ourselves from at the moment, the entire fabric of that construction is to remove people away from their hearts and into their ego, to be in a mode of survival, limited connection to source, listening to the instructions on how to survive by groups of souls, kind of orchestrating them into positions of power and authority. So the entire basis of that particular matrix is simply, in order to survive, you do as you are told. Okay, which means switching off all of your intuition, your personal goals and everything else, providing that they are, but providing those goals and those dreams are in alignment with the confines of the matrix, then you continue to survive, or you just continue to muddle through your existence. Well, we've all unplugged from that now, and those of us that are still in the process of unplugging from it are being thrown into some of the most grueling initiations and dark nights, and you can see it in the energies of the people that we witness on a day-to-day basis, that we would maybe sometimes be a bit judgmental about. Oh, these people aren't awake, they're still listening to the news, they're still listening to the media, all the people still buying into that previous version of reality. And even that kind of level of judgment itself is a facet of initiations that we are going through, because when we are truly at peace with our own hearts and resting within the vibration of our own heart, you can witness what people are doing around you, and you can have thoughts and you can have perceptions on it, but the actual element or the vibration of judgment or judgmentalness disappears from this assessment. So self-love, I would be bold enough to say that 2022 has been the year that the doorways have opened, that have invited all of us into a vibration of self-love. It's like, if we're going to be functioning or wishing to function at a fifth dimensional frequency in a high vibrational society where we all are cooperating with each other in a state of love, of course we're going to have differences. Of course there's going to be things that one person thinks is great and another person thinks is absolute crap, and even that went on in Atlantean times during the golden era, but there would always be an amicable solution for it, rather than a 4-hour war on Facebook or something like that. So what we're looking at the moment is, if you break it all down, if you break down what we are going through the ultimate initiation of learning to love ourselves. Okay, so every other road leads back to this, because in the fifth dimensional frequency that we are moving into, if we are lacking self-love, then we will be tested upon those facets. So as within, so without. So what we are embodying about ourselves, how we drive ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we feed and water ourselves, how we engage with ourselves on a daily basis, all of that reflects outwards and creates the personal biosphere of our reality. So ultimately, in order to move through all of these high frequency energy gateways, I mean, I'm sat here talking to you on 11/11, which is a powerful portal of light. It's a date which is allocated by us as of being of numerological significance, get my words right. And of course the energy is then set and aligned by the heavens in order to take us into the next phase. And the phase at the moment is preparation for the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, and of course summer in the south. But regardless, the December solstice is almost like the ultimate shining gateway to walk through. And this particular one that's coming up is, to me, the information that I'm receiving is very, very important, because as you've probably heard me say in the previous video, it's the halfway point. We started the journey that we're on at the moment properly in 2012, the 21st of December 2012, and the end goal or date is probably going to be the 21st of December 2032. So 20 years, okay, and we're approaching exactly the halfway point. Now I do see my comments, and people have asked, well, you know, what's the significance of this date? How can we be this far along the ascension pathway if the world is in such a state of chaos? And it is chaotic because of the changes that's going on. It's chaotic because of the incredible application of light and the breaking open of people's consciousness as they move from ego to heart. That journey is messy, okay, or it's proving to be messy at the moment, because the illusion of the matrix was so perfect, so complete for the majority, that when that illusion breaks down, when the ego is revealed for what it is and the heart beckons, that's when the journey really begins. And of course, that road, it comes back to self-love. So self-love, or the ability to self-love, or the options and the very basis of it was not a priority in the third dimension. The third dimension was experience, survival, making things work, building, and working with the school curriculum that we were offered. But the curriculum has completely changed now. The curriculum is basically love, okay? Love in all its forms, love in all its facets, and love imbued with wisdom, love imbued with knowledge, and all of the other facets. So if you think about the ascension chakras that you have within your body, most of them now are being tied in with the actions of the fifth dimensional heart center. So on many occasions I've been prompted to link my heart center to my sacral chakra, or my heart center to my crown, to my third eye, to my throat, the physical chakras that make a difference to how I interact with my everyday reality. So the words that I speak, I ultimately, if I'm thinking and I'm and the process is being engaged with properly, the heart leads the voice, the heart leads the words. Or if I'm engaging in any kind of interaction with other souls, which is usually sacral guided. Okay, so sacral oversees your relationships, your family, the people that you work with, all of these interpersonal actions. The heart then guides the sacral. Or if I'm using or calling upon my inner wisdom and my knowledge, the heart is linked into the crown. Or if I wish to see or intend or to manifest or to create in any way or to perceive reality around me, which is the job of the third eye, then if that is heart-led, then I'm going to see what I need to be seeing at a higher frequency. So everything, all roads lead back to the heart. They lead back to self-love, and they lead back to that journey that we are embarking on at the moment, to regain the purity and the almost like the gentle touch of loving ourselves. Okay, loving ourselves very deeply. And when you go into the initiation of self-love, ultimately sitting at the center of that is the inner child. And the inner child work is the work that really breaks out all of that emotion, all of the emotion that we've hidden and that we've suppressed and that we've buried away because we don't want to look at it, because we've experienced it in this lifetime or we've experienced it in another one, and it's painful. And ultimately we have to face that. We have to face the shadows that we've been living with, that we've created, and ultimately once we start dancing inwardly and outwardly, once we start embodying that love and bringing it through, it's an unstoppable force, it's an unstoppable process. But in order to get that process into a state where it is natural, where it is second nature, we go through the initiations that we are going through at the moment. So that is my Friday morning perspective on why things feel as challenging as they do. Okay, once we've got it, then we can do it fluidly. Doesn't mean the challenges stop, it doesn't mean the tasks cease. It means they get easier or more natural because we are fluid with ourselves, we are fluid with it, or comfortable within the facets of our self-love, so that we can engage and create at this much higher frequency. Okay, so wishing you all a very love-filled weekend. Okay, stay in your hearts no matter what you are being presented with, especially if it's coming out the TV screen or if it's coming out of the energy fields or the voices of people that might actually be pretty challenged at the moment. Okay, there's more so than ever before, the people around us are being flexed upon by this incredible volume of light that's coming in. People that are, or we would again regard or maybe judge as being asleep, they will be waking up at some point. Okay, and the people who are in the most pain, the ones that are struggling the most, the ones that are resisting this vibration, they're resisting the march of this higher consciousness, and that can't be easy. Okay, it's enough from me. See you all on Monday morning, and wishing you the most beautiful weekend. Bye for now.